Hi, fifth graders. So we've learned in this unit that there are a lot of different reasons why we might use multiplication to solve a word problem. So I wanted to look with you at 4 common decimal multiplication word problems that you'll see lots and lots of the time. So the first common word problem type is one that we've used all along in our math career, and that's an example of a problem where we have to find equal groups. So for example, the first story problem reads, Nicole is making 1,000 bows for people who donate to the library book sale. She needs a piece of ribbon that is 0 and 75 hundredths meter long for each bow. How many meters of ribbon does Nicole need to make the bows? So I can clearly picture someone named Nicole, I'm actually picturing my sister because that's her name, sitting down making bows for people who have donated to the library. So if I go line by line, the first sentence says Nicole is making 1,000 bows for people who donate to the library book sale. So I know that we're making 1,000 sets of something that looks like this. The second sentence tells me she needs a piece of ribbon that is 0 and 75 hundredths meter long for each bow. That means every bow she makes will be made from a piece of ribbon 0 and 75 hundredths meters. The question sentence reads, how many meters of ribbon does Nicole need to make the bows? So I know that tells me that I'm making 1,000 equal groups of 75 hundredths meters each. So I'll multiply 0 and 75 hundredths times 1,000. Now you could use the area model or the traditional method if you wanted, but you might have also recognized that this particular example uses a power of 10. Since I recognize that it's a power of 10, I'm going to use that approved shortcut where I shift the decimal point based on the number of zeros or the number of places in my power of 10. In this case, since I'm multiplying by 1,000, I'll shift the decimal point 3 spaces. So I'll move it 1, 2, 3 times. That leaves me with an empty space that I need to fill a placeholder in. So that tells me that Nicole will need 750 meters of ribbon in order to make the bows. So that's one type of common story problem you might see. You might also see multiplication word problems where you need to find a part of a group. For example, a town has 33 and 5/10 acres of land to build a new community of homes and parks. The town plans to use 0 and 25 hundredths of the land for a park. How many acres will they use for the park? Okay, so this makes sense to me because I remember when the town was trying to decide what to do with the crossings. So I imagine that this is something towns have to decide a lot. So the first sentence reads, a town has 33 and 5/10 acres of land to build a new community of homes and parks. So I'm picturing a park or an open space that's 33 and 5/10 acres. The next sentence says, the town plans to use 0 and 25 hundredths of the land for a park. Hopefully, your brain is starting to pick up on the fact that there's a number right next to the word of. This is a huge signal to multiply. That number of combination means to multiply because it's a resizing type question. Our question sentence is asking us how many acres they're going to use because it won't be all 33 and 5/10 of them. We're going to resize and only take 0 and 25 hundredths of that land. So I can set up a multiplication problem where I take 0 and 25 hundredths times the 33 and 5/10. When I do my multiplication, that tells me that I'll be using 8 and 375 thousandths acres for the park. Now this is finding part of a group because the group is something greater than 1 acre, but the part or the piece that we're taking is less than 1 whole. That's why our final answer, even though we multiplied, was a lesser number because we multiplied by something less than 1. Let's take a look at another example where we'll end up with a lesser answer. And that's the third common type of word problem where we find a part of a part. For example, Brianna is getting materials for a chemistry experiment. Her teacher gives her a container that has 0 and 15 hundredths liter of a liquid in it. Brianna needs to use 0 and 4/10 of this liquid for the experiment. How much liquid will Brianna use? So this is definitely easy to picture because we've all been in science class where we've been given materials and we have to use part of it in order to make the experiment work. So if I go line by line, Brianna's getting materials for a chemistry experiment. That just helped me get that mental movie. The second sentence says, her teacher gives her a container that has 0 and 1/1500 liter of a liquid in it. That means that I can picture a container with 0 and 1/1500 of a liter in it. Then the third sentence says, Brianna needs to use 0 and 4/10 of this liquid for the experiment. Hopefully you noticed that we had a number right next to the word of again. That, remember, means to multiply. So now, when we have to find how much liquid will we use, we're really resizing it. So I'm taking that 0 and 4/10 and I'm multiplying it by the 0 and 1/1500, which I know would give me a final answer of 0 and 60 thousandths or 0 and 600ths liters. This is a finding part of a part question because I'm taking a small piece, something less than 1, of an amount that's already less than 1. Okay, so these first 3 examples were all just one-step questions, only one particular problem we had to solve. The last common type you'll see is a multi-step problem. So this question says, a group of friends go to a local fair. Jason spends $3.75, Myra spends 3 times as much as Jason, and Teresa spends $5.25 more than Myra. How much does Teresa spend? So I'm picturing all these kids at the fair and they're all handing money to different vendors. Jason spent the least and I know Teresa spent the most. So let's figure out what she spent. The first sentence, a group of friends go to a local fair, just gives me some background information. Now the second sentence, Jason spends $3.75. That's going to help me solve the problem. So I'm going to write down that Jason spent $3.75. Then the next sentence reads, Myra spends 3 times as much as Jason. Well, if I'm thinking back to when we talked about bar models with division, I heard that phrase times as much as a lot. So I can show Myra's amount as a way of explaining it using Jason's number. So Myra spent 3 times as much, so I'll draw 3 boxes that each have $3.75 in it. I don't know what that total is, but I'll be able to figure it out based on my picture. Now, my next sentence says, Teresa spends $5.25 more than Myra. So I don't know what Myra's amount is yet, but I do know that she spent $3.75 3 times. So I'll repeat that for Teresa and add an extra box with $5.25 on it. Now I can figure out how much Teresa spent. I know Jason spent $3.75, and since Myra spent 3 times that much, I can multiply $3.75 times 3, which is the same as $11.25. Then, since Teresa spent $5.25 more than Myra, I'll take that $11.25 and add $5.25 for a total of $16.50. So be on the lookout for these kinds of questions when you are working with decimal numbers. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helped tune in your brain to all the different kinds of decimal multiplication word problems you might see.